What if the reason you're still losing money isn't your strategy? It isn't your indicator. It isn't even the market. What if the real problem is that you're trying to catch fish in waters that God already told you to leave? Now, before you blame the market one more time, ask yourself this very important question. Are you actually following a plan? Or are you just repeating the same mistakes with different charts? The story you're about to hear may completely change the way you think about trading, failure, and the breakthrough that you've been chasing all along. When he had finished speaking, he said to Simon, "Put out into deep water and let down the nets for a catch." Simon answered, "Master, we've worked hard all night and haven't caught anything, but because you say so, I will let down the nets." When they had done so, they caught such a large number of fish that their nets began to break. Luke 5:4-6. In the Gospel of Luke, there is a remarkable moment where Jesus steps into an ordinary day of frustration and transforms it into a lesson about faith, obedience, and abundance. You see, Peter and the other fishermen had spent the entire night working. Their hands were tired, their bodies were exhausted, and their nets were empty. They had done everything they knew to do. They were skilled fishermen, familiar with the water, familiar with the patterns of the fish, and familiar with disappointment. But as the sun began to rise, they were washing their nets, preparing to go home, carrying nothing with them except fatigue and frustration. Jesus approached the shoreline and asked Peter to allow him to teach from his boat. What is so powerful about this moment is that Peter was willing to make room for Jesus even when life had not gone his way. He didn't wait until he was successful to serve. He didn't wait until he had a breakthrough to be available. Yet, in the middle of discouragement, he still opened his boat. Sometimes, the greatest miracles begin when we continue to make space for purpose, even while carrying the weight of disappointment. You see, Peter's willingness to let Jesus into his situation positioned him for something he could not yet see. After teaching the crowd, Jesus told Peter to launch into deeper water and let down the nets for a catch. The instructions seemed unusual. Peter was the fisherman. Jesus was the carpenter. Peter had already worked the waters all night. Logic suggested that there was nothing left to find. Experience suggested that the opportunity had already passed. Everything Peter knew pointed toward failure. Yet, there are moments when divine wisdom asks us to move beyond what our experience can explain. You see, sometimes the breakthrough is waiting on the other side of our willingness to trust what we cannot yet understand. So Peter responded with a statement that reveals the tension many people feel when standing between exhaustion and faith. He acknowledged the struggle. He admitted that they had worked hard and caught nothing. He didn't even try to pretend that everything was fine. Yet he followed that honesty with obedience. He essentially said that because Jesus had spoken, he would try. There is something beautiful about that kind of faith. It is not blind optimism. It isn't denial. It is choosing to move forward even when yesterday's evidence suggests that nothing will change. The moment the nets entered the water, everything changed. Fish began filling the nets beyond anything the fishermen had ever anticipated. The catch was so overwhelming that the nets began to strain under the weight. Boats that had left the shore empty were suddenly carrying more than they could contain. Partners had to be called over to help. The same water that had seemed barren only hours earlier became a source of extraordinary abundance. What appeared empty was not empty at all. The blessing had been there the entire time, waiting for the right moment and the right instruction. As Peter witnessed the miracle, his focus shifted away from the fish and toward Jesus. He became overwhelmed by the realization that he was standing in the presence of something greater than he had ever known. The miracle was not merely about provision, it was about revelation. Peter saw that his limitations were no match for God's power. He saw that his expertise could only take him so far, but obedience could take him much further. Sometimes God allows us to reach the end of our own strength so we can discover the beginning of His. Jesus then spoke words that would change forever in Peter's life. He told him not to be afraid and revealed that he was being called into a greater purpose. The fish were never the final destination. They were simply the doorway. What began as an empty net became an invitation into a transformed life. The story reminds us that our greatest disappointments do not have to be the end of the story. An empty net can become a full one. A failed night can become a defining moment. When faith is willing to obey, even after disappointment, ordinary waters can become the setting for extraordinary miracles. There is something deeply familiar about Peter's story for anyone who has ever sat in front of a trading chart. Many traders know what it feels like to spend countless hours studying, analyzing, preparing, and executing only to end the day with disappointment. They enter the market full of hope and leave feeling drained. They review charts, watch videos, purchase indicators, and read books, yet the results seem to slip through their fingers. Just like Peter standing beside an empty net, many traders find themselves staring at an account balance that does not reflect the effort that they thought they were investing. One of the most painful realities in trading is that effort and results do not always arrive together. Most people grow up believing that if they work harder, they will immediately earn more. But trading challenges that belief. A trader can spend an entire week doing everything correctly and still experience losses. For someone who has built their entire identity around achievement, that can feel confusing and even, quite frankly, pretty personal. You see, the market has a way of exposing the difference between effort and outcome, forcing traders to develop patience they never knew they needed. Many traders become trapped in what could be called fishing all night syndrome. They continue using the same strategies, the same habits, and the same emotional responses while expecting different results. Then they switch indicators, jump from mentor to mentor, and chase every new opportunity that appears on social media. Yet beneath all the activity is a deeper issue. The problem is often not the strategy. The problem is the inability to trust one process long enough for mastery to develop. The constant search for certainty becomes the very thing that prevents consistency. Another painful challenge is the weight of past losses. A trader may enter a new trade, but emotionally they are still carrying the memory of the previous one. Every red candle reminds them of another mistake. Every pullback feels like a threat. Every moment of uncertainty awakens old fears. And instead of responding to what is happening in the present moment, they begin reacting to emotional wounds from the past. The chart becomes less about price action and more about unresolved pain. You see, fear has a unique way of disguising itself as logic. And traders often convince themselves that they are being cautious when they are actually just being afraid. They exit winning trades too early because they fear giving profits back. They hesitate to enter valid setups because they fear being wrong. They reduce position sizes to the point that success no longer moves them forward. What appears to be wisdom is often fear wearing a very convincing mask. Fear quietly steals opportunities while convincing people it is protecting them. Then, of course, there is the pain of comparison. Every day, traders are bombarded with screenshots of profits, luxury lifestyles, and stories of overnight success. They begin measuring their journey against someone else's highlight reel. They forget that many of the people they admire experienced years of failure before they ever found consistency. You see, comparison creates unnecessary suffering because it shifts attention from the personal growth and places it on somebody else's timeline. The trader who constantly compares themselves to others rarely notices how far they themselves have already come. For many traders, the greatest battle is not happening on the screen at all. It is happening in the mind. The market simply reveals what is already there. The impatience exists. The market will expose it. If insecurity exists, the market will expose it. If the need for control exists, you got it, the market will expose it. Trading becomes a mirror reflecting hidden beliefs, unresolved emotions and subconscious fears. What begins as a financial journey often evolves into a deeply personal journey of self-discovery. This is why so many intelligent people struggle in trading despite having excellent technical knowledge. Knowledge alone cannot overcome emotional chaos. A trader may know exactly where support and resistance are located, but still violate their plan. They may understand risk management but refuse to honor their stop loss. They may know their edge works over time but abandon it after a few losses. The challenge is rarely a lack of information. The challenge is learning how to remain disciplined when emotions demand immediate relief. The traders who eventually find consistency begin to understand something powerful. Their greatest breakthrough does not come from finding a magical indicator. It comes from becoming a different person. They learn patience when the market is slow. They learn humility when they are wrong. They learn confidence without arrogance when they are right. They learn to separate their self-worth from their outcome of a single trade. Over time, they stop chasing perfection and start pursuing discipline. That shift changes everything. Just as Peter discovered the miracle was not ultimately about the fish, successful traders eventually discover that trading is not ultimately about money. The profits matter, yes, but the deeper reward is the person they become in the process. The market teaches emotional control, resilience, patience, faith, and self-awareness. It teaches people how to trust a process even when immediate results are not visible. And sometimes, just like Peter standing before an overflowing net, traders discovered that the breakthrough they were seeking was waiting on the other side of obedience, discipline, and the courage to try again one more time. So if this story resonates with you, perhaps it is because you have experienced your own version of an empty net. Maybe you have worked hard, studied diligently, watched countless videos, and still found yourself frustrated by inconsistent results. The good news is that you do not have to navigate this journey alone. Our community was built for people who are ready to stop chasing random strategies and start developing the mindset, discipline, and confidence necessary for long-term success. We believe trading is about much more than charts and indicators. It is about becoming the person capable of handling abundance when it arrives. One of the most unique resources we offer is our Trading Bible Study Guide. Throughout Scripture, we find powerful lessons about patience, stewardship, wisdom, fear, faith, discipline, and emotional control. These principles are just as relevant to the trader who's sitting in front of a chart today as they were to the people who first received them thousands of years ago in the Bible. The guide helps connect timeless biblical wisdom to the very real emotional challenges traders face every day, creating opportunities for both financial and personal growth. Every trading day presents new opportunities, but preparation matters. That is why members receive access to our SPY levels, helping traders identify key areas of support and resistance and potential market reactions. Instead of approaching the market with confusion and uncertainty, you can begin each day with a framework designed to help you make more informed decisions. Confidence often comes from preparation, and preparation begins with knowing what levels matter before the market opens. For those who have always wanted to learn options trading but felt intimidated by the complexity, our How to Trade Options Challenge was created specifically for you. We break down concepts into practical, easy to understand lessons that help remove confusion and build confidence. Rather than focusing solely on profits, we focus on creating a foundation that helps traders understand risk, manage emotions, and develop consistency. The goal is not simply to place trades. The goal is to become a disciplined trader. What makes our approach different is that we spend as much time as possible discussing psychology as we do discussing strategy. Many traders spend years searching for the perfect setup while ignoring the emotional habits that sabotage their success. Fear, greed, impatience, revenge trading, and self-doubt destroy more accounts than a lack of technical knowledge ever will. While our community helps traders address both the technical and emotional sides of the market because the transformation requires both. We are especially passionate about helping people who have been overlooked, counted out, are convinced that wealth creation is reserved for someone else. Every day presents an opportunity to learn, grow, and develop skills that can create new possibilities for you and your family. Trading is not a get-rich-quick scheme. It is a journey of personal development that rewards patience, discipline, and consistent action. The lessons learned along the way often extend far beyond the market itself. So if you found value in this message, take a moment to comment and share what stood out to you the most. Your story may encourage someone else who is struggling with their own empty net season. Be sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss future lessons on trading psychology, faith, mindset, and practical market education. We would love to welcome you into our community, provide you with the Trading Bible Study Guide, and give you daily SPY levels and access to the How to Trade Options Challenge. Your next chapter may be closer than you think. You've got this. Peace and blessings. Dr.